for taking the time to have this interview with me. I am excited to learn more about all the great work you have been doing to help executives manage their teams, because I know that is something that's very hard to do, managing your teams the proper way. But what inspired you to choose the field of human resources?
That's such a good question. So for me, first of all, nice to meet you, Nigelia. I'm really excited to have this conversation with you. Um, what inspired me is that I've always been really interested in understanding how to get the best out of teams for organizations. I'm an organizational psychologist by trade and by academic background. And what I realized was that if we don't really take good care of the people, we don't have a good business, because they are who really are fuels the business. And so as I was working in the space, I saw some leaders thrive and have teams that would like fall off the cliff for them. And then I would see other teams that not so much, right? And I was like, what's that about? What's the difference? And it really was the leader. It was how they showed up for the team, for the work. And I wanted to be a part of ensuring more leaders got their teams behind them in that way so that they can have optimal performance for the work they want to do for the company. So that's kind of where it all came from for me.
But was it like something from childhood or some sort of background, like
Oh,
something
okay.
that you like from the beginning? Because sometimes there's some connections between them that make us actually say,
Yeah.
yeah, I like leadership, I like this, and then as a kid, and then you end up growing up, and that journey just continue for some reason.
My mom would say that I was always bossy and that, growing up, any kind of like pretend play had me as the boss and my dolls as like the subordinate. So perhaps you're right? Like I just was like that all the time. But to your point, I think a moment for me around why this became really important was as I became a senior leader, and I was fairly young, and I happened to be a Black woman. And someone came to me when I took this executive role and said that now you need to kind of show up as a leader and, really try to, step into it, quote unquote, properly. And honestly, if I'm being honest with you, Nagila, I was like, oh crap, like I need to fit the box. Like I need to do leadership correctly. And for me, it was a very like bland box that they were asking me to fit in. And I am full of personality. I am full of style. I'm full of all these things that I was excited to bring to an executive role. And here this person was like, don't bring all of that. And I was really down about it, and for a little while tried to work that way. And what I realized really quickly was that it was stifling to me. I couldn't be myself as a leader. I couldn't show up for my team, people who I hired that was excited to work with me as me. Now I'm trying to, operate like, whatever I
A
perceive
robot.
as, yeah, like whatever, whatever were the models around me of what leadership was supposed to look like. Um, and I just had like a moment and I'll tell you what happened. One day, I was walking down the hall, and this gentleman said to me, "You know what? I just want to thank you. I see you wearing, these beautiful outfits and your, African print skirts, and it just gives me, like pride that you are an executive
Wow.
and you are, dressing in your own style." And I was like, you know what? You're right. And it just like shifted me, because I was like, you know what? There are people that need to see this. There are people that need me to be me, authentically me. And that doesn't take anything away from my executiveness. That doesn't take anything away from how I lead my team. And I need to just show up. And that not only shifted me as an executive, but it also made me realize that I needed to unlock that for others. And I needed to tell other leaders, be authentically you, because that is the only way you're going to be able to be effective. And so that kind of is what birthed my coaching practice, was like, I need to show executives how to show up in themselves first, figure out who you are authentically, and then how does that container lead others? And how do you do that effectively? And pay honor and respect to their authenticity. Don't try to box them up either. And so, like, if I'm honest, like that is what really seeded it for me. Of like, I need to do this for everybody else. Because once I became free to be me, I was like, yeah, I see some other people that need to shed
Shed.
the perception of what a leader is supposed to look like, function like, and how they're supposed to lead.
So pretty much that was your wake up call.
1,000%, Najee. I mean, for like that person saying it to me first to tell me to like button up, and then that other person saying thank you for being you, and I didn't even realize that that was something relevant. That's just the skirts that I love to wear or whatever about my heritage that I was proud of. I didn't realize someone saw that as like a moment of pride for him. And he was like, for once, I'm seeing a leader that looks like me, and da da da. Da. And I was like, oh, this is bigger than me. Let me let me
Let me
let
make
me
some
come into my
changes.
role. Baby, they got all the African print skirts after that, the dresses. I mean, I just became freer to show up, and it changed a lot for me. So that is kind of the wake up call to your point.
I loved it. So prior to starting your own business, you were a director of talent management and diversity with Blue Jet Airways.
JetBlue,
So
JetBlue Airways, yeah.
JetBlue Airways. I don't know why I said JetBlue, but JetBlue Airways. So how was that experience, and how does it starting your own? How does it contribute to you starting your own business?
It's such a interesting journey. I loved being an executive. I loved owning parts of the business that dealt with the people strategy. I really love that. I think for me, the shift was more about my personal life, and I was becoming a mom of a second baby. Already had an 18-month old, and I was pregnant, and I realized that I wanted to show up differently as a mom, and that being an executive and having the demands of my time in a way that was going to affect how I showed up as a mom, I needed to shift. And so that was the only reason why I was like, I need to create my own schedule, create my own practice so that I can make some rules and some boundaries of how much time I spend. So after I decided that and gratefully have, a partner who was like, I got you, let's do this. It was hard starting a business. I never started a business before. And I hadn't prepared for it. I was just pregnant and was like, I can't do this anymore. So I left really honestly without a true plan, right? Like I didn't have the website already created. I didn't have the business development already thought through or whatever. I just left with a passion to serve people. And I knew that I wanted to still do kind of what I did in my role at JetBlue, but I wanted to do it for other people. And I wanted to do it within boundaries that would allow me to be a wife and a mom. So I left and was like, okay, now what? So I always tell people when they come to me and ask me for advice, I say that, do some things differently than the way I did. But honestly though, it has been such an amazing journey of self-discovery, of me making mistakes and learning from those mistakes and then doing something different and then being like, oh, okay. And 3 years in, I'm looking back now, man, like, wow, look how far you've come. Look how much
Come.
you've grown. Look how you're able to give advice. Oh my gosh. You know what I mean? Like you were over here not knowing what the heck, to do and all of this. And now you're able to really give sound advice and to help other people start their business. So it has been a challenge, but it's been a beautiful challenge because it's mine, right? It's my other baby that I get to craft and to serve the people that I want to serve, to do the type of work that I'm excited to do, and to contribute to my discipline in a way that's uniquely for me. So it's been hard. I'm not gonna lie, but it's been
So,
crazy rewarding.
so would you say that everything you learned from JetBlue Airways kind of like help you also to with the business, with your own
I
business?
think, yeah, I think some of it, absolutely. I think being able to foster relationships with leaders as a peer definitely helps me as a consultant, right? Because I foster a relationship with my clients now. So learning that experience of how to talk to senior executives, CEOs, board of directors, whatever, I'm now transferring that skill over to consulting and building business or trying to pitch ideas to folks. So that's for sure. I also had the great opportunity at JetBlue to coach and be an internal executive coach. And so I have a whole coaching practice now. So absolutely, having that experience there and building confidence in myself as an executive coach came from that. And then lastly, I led lots of aspects of HR that now I consult to, and I help other companies build out stronger strategic HR practices. So, certainly, to your question, having spent time cutting my teeth and learning and practicing as an executive there has certainly transferred into my practice now.
Um, I love it. I love how you actually. I love that answer. Usually, I don't get it straightforward like that because sometimes people kind of make it, yeah. But I love the fact that you give them credit for what they did. Don't get me wrong. I've been in corporate America. I don't love it. That's the reason why I'm here with you today. So, but at the end of
Oh
the
no,
day,
yeah.
they do certain things. They teach us. We can take it. It's a life learning lesson that we can use for the rest of our life. That's how I
Absolutely.
see
They
it.
are a part of my journey. They are a huge part of my journey. And I would never disrespect that experience or the opportunities they gave me to grow as a leader for anything. Highs and lows everywhere, right? Highs and lows there, highs and lows in my own practice. And I'm my own boss and there's still lows, right? But I would never take away the growth that I had as a woman and as a leader from that experience.
Absolutely. So now let's talk about your company, okay? So
Okay.
out of all this, you give birth to two beautiful children, and then you say, you know what? It's time to step up and be a better leader. A better leader for my kids, a better leader for myself, for my family, and so that they can go out there and be the best they can be as well. So that's what mom do. That's what we do, right? And
You know it.
that's my experience as well. So now, tell us what is Lead by Design Lab.
Oh my goodness. So
That's the
lead
toy
by
baby.
That's my third baby. I'm all done now. So Lead by Design Lab is really a combination of things. One, it is an executive coaching practice where we really focus on what I consider like deep subject matter experts who all of a sudden find themselves in a leadership role, right? And they don't know how to lead, right? They know their stuff. They might have been like the wickedest scientists in the lab, and now they've been asked to lead the lab. And no one gave them any training or guidance. They just said, well, you're smart and you're a wicked scientist, so you can figure this out, and they can't. So those types of what I consider like unicorns, real deep subject matter experts, we love and want to support to ensure that they're as good of a leader, leading another set of deep thinkers as they were as an individual contributor. So that's one aspect. We coach lots of executives from around the country and in different disciplines. I mean, we work with a lot of university deans and chairs. We also work with startups who had this great vision and now they're like, oh crap, there are people here to help me. What do I do with them? Right? Like, why do I, oh gosh, I have to hire people and now I got to direct them on what to do. How do I delegate? So I love working with the folks because honestly, for me, it's like, I want to give what I learned to those who don't have access to what I learned, right? I want to give it to those types of leaders. And so that's one part of Lead by Design Lab. We are in the lab with them and we help to develop them as leaders, just as strong of leaders as they were these deep thinkers. So that's one aspect. The other aspect is that we are also consultants. So I go into many companies who are looking to really have a stronger people strategy when it comes to their human capital. And I do audits of their organization and say, okay, here are where there's some opportunities. Here's where I think you might can strengthen or amplify this thing that you're doing really well relative to your culture. So we do constant consultation to nonprofits and some corporate entities as well to help shore up different parts of their people strategy. And then the last thing we do is trainings. So we do leadership trainings, we do design thinking training. I'm actually a master coach as a part of the Stanford University team where I go around and do design thinking strategy development and help leaders learn about this way of thinking of innovation and how to really embed innovation in their culture. So I do lots of those types of facilitations, as well as just more sometimes more basic leadership training, like, okay, I just hired a whole team of managers, but they need like some one-on-one of like, how do you lead a team for the first time. We will go off and do some really customized trainings for those organizations. So those are kind of the three spokes of Lead by Design Lab.
So pretty much, if I understand correctly, so your key services that Lead by Design Lab provides will be coaching, consulting, and training.
That's right. That's us.
So now,
Much better than me. Like, quick, quick, quick. That's right. Yeah.
I'm a very curious girl. I don't know if your kids watch that Curious George. So that's me. I'm very curious. That little monkey that curious about everything. So now, since I'm curious, usually I go on the internet. I get curious about other people' business, especially if I'm gonna have an interview with them. So I end up
Okay.
doing that with you. So now there's something I find on your website. I understand what it is, but I think that our listeners and people that's going to read anything about you would love to know about it. So now,
Oh,
can you
good.
tell us about the 4 A's framework that you use to help your
Oh
clients?
my gosh. I love that you looked that up. Okay. So, yes. So, basically, the way that we think about coaching and how a leader should really prepare themselves and go through the coaching cycle with us is we have 4 A's. And so, I'm so excited that you're asking me to talk about it. The first A is assess. So when we get a new client and we start to work with them, the first thing we want to do is assess your style, right? And who are you as a leader? And so we do that assessment in a couple of ways. One, we do a personality assessment. So we have you go through that, and then I walk them through the findings. But then we also do what's called a 360 assessment. So what I mean by that is, yes, you know yourself, but it's also helpful to hear what other people think of you and your style.
Mm-hmm.
So I interview people across your space. So maybe your boss, some of your direct reports, maybe even a peer. I interview them to get to understand how they view you. And I bring all that together into a report where I share with you. So you are now assessed by your own self assessment, but also through an assessment of others. So
Ooh,
that's the first A, assess. Then we move into align. And basically, that is for us to align those two different things to get clear. All right, this is what you think. This is what they think. How do we align that to who you
facts.
really want to show up to be as a leader, right? So that's what we spend time doing, and then we go in and we create an action plan, and we say, all right, based on this, here's your plan. And then the third A is to action it. So I send you off. I will have you go and do some of the things that you might have identified. Let me just give an example. So if you think that you are, um, very collegial and like non-confrontational, but everybody I spoke to said how direct you are and somewhat off-putting. If that's something you want to work on, because I'm not going to tell you that you have to work on that. If that's something you identify in the aligned state and you put that in your plan, then as you go and action it, I'm going to check in on some things, right? I may ask to review some emails. I may ask to shadow, if you're up for it, shadow some meetings. And we will check in and see, how are you doing with that thing you
Ooh,
wanted to work on? And we will check in and do some work together to see how that's going. And so then that speaks to the last A. The last A is then to adjust. So you may realize that after you actioned it, you're like, okay, actually, I actually don't want to work on that. I actually think I need to do this instead. Then we adjust your plan. Your action plan is a living document. So you may realize that what you wrote initially in the aligned state, by the time you did some action work, you need to make some adjustments to that plan. So we adjust the plan together. And then that is then the plan that we will close out on for our engagement. But you now know that that's what you need to kind of continue to cycle through to see, like, okay, now I'm going to action that. Nope, I'm gonna need to adjust again. Okay, okay, now I think I got it. So that's kind of the ebb and flow of the process. So that's the four A's of our coaching framework.
I actually love it
Well,
because
thank you.
what I love about it is the fact that you take the time to interview people, that takes time. And
Oh
then
yeah.
shadow them, that take even more time. It's like
Yeah.
babysitting them for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I'm invested. When I select a coaching engagement, it's not someone that I'm like, oh, okay, sure, I'll do this for a couple of weeks or a couple of months, and just to say that you got a coach and check the box. No, like once I'm working with you and I say yes to you, it's because I really believe in your potential and that I can help you, and so I'm all in. I mean, clients that work with me, they'll get a text message every now and again of like, hey, did you, how did, what, or I might send them a voice memo. Yesterday it was pretty funny. Someone had said that they really wanted to work on some self-care. So I surprised them and sent them, like I found where they lived specifically, and I found a Pilates program that aligned to what they talked about they wanted to do. And I sent it to them. And I was like, so you got 2 weeks to sign up. And she was like, oh my God, I can't believe you did that. And I was like, yeah, like I am here for the journey with you. When we sign up, we sign up as a partnership. So of course I would spend that time because I do really want to understand the whole view. And so yeah, it's a great experience. I think a lot of people get a lot out of it because they realize like, oh, what I thought about me is actually not how other people are experiencing me. So what do I need to change to align what I am trying to project and what others are experiencing? That is such magic for people, and we normally get through a lot of blind spots through that way, and then we have a stronger plan.
So I understand how your thinking is going and why you make your plans like that. It's the psychology behind your back of the head you've been
You're
learning
already
for the
doing
past
that.
few years.
Yeah, it's
Because
all in me.
yeah, it's the psychology. When you put the psychology and the coaching together, yeah, you're gonna come up with a plan like that. You wanna get to
Pretty
know
much.
people to be able to help them because that's what psychologists do. We get to know people. Yeah,
Exactly. Exactly.
I love it.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
how does someone lead by design?
So the reason why I wrote, and thank you for asking that, because that's such an important thing for me. I was very intentional about the name. So for me, lead by design means lead with intentionality, lead on purpose, right? Leadership is not a title only. It's not something you just fall upon. It's not just having followers. It's being very intentional and purposeful about how you lead others. And so I want people to have a plan and a thought about their efforts in leading others and not just think of it as this whimsical, oh, I'm the blah 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 blah, and oh, oops, no, 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 no. This is a serious matter right here. We're gonna get into it being intentional and purposeful in order to support your followers.
I love it. That's how you come up with the name, pretty much.
Exactly.
So, why do you feel people need direction to become a leader?
Because it's not as simple as people think. There, to your point, I'm a psychologist. There's psychology behind this. There is theory behind doing it well. You can be a leader in name and in title for sure, but when you study great leaders, you find that they have created an environment that people feel psychologically safe to bring themselves to work. You find that they are open to people making mistakes without, throwing them out. You find so many variables that align to what a great leader does. And so I think that requires focus. I think that requires intentionality. I think that requires study. It's not something that, I mean, everyone's like, oh, I'm a natural born leader to some extent, right? You may have some innate things in you, but that thing has to be honed and groomed in order to be surely effective. And so that's why that work is so important to me.
I agree with what you said because even as kids, sometimes you see kids that take the lead very easily. They like start leading, but eventually, as they grow, you see that just disappear from them because they don't maintain it enough for them to become that great leader they were as a kid.
Exactly. That's like saying, "Oh, I naturally can play basketball, so I don't need a coach. I don't need to practice. I'm just going to go to, the professional team." Of course not. You would never say that about certain things, but for some reason people feel very comfortable just throwing people into leadership roles without any kind of support, coaching, practice or anything. And I just don't I think that's I think that's sad, and I think that is very dangerous for organizations to function in that way.
So that brings me to asking you, how important is it for organization to maintain a diverse and then also an inclusive work culture so that the leaders can be better?
Oh gosh, don't get me started, right? Like I think that to me at this point in our existence as humans, that should really be a no-brainer, right? I think that we've already seen the value of diversity of thought in so many case studies that I don't even know why that's still questioned. We've People have done the research to show how much more, even if you want to take it from a financial performance perspective, you've seen that companies that have a diverse board out revenue other organizations. You've seen all this data. So I think it's so important. I think allowing people to come in with diverse experiences that typically come from being in diverse containers makes organizations better. It just does. And that homogeneous thinking doesn't really lead to innovation, right? It doesn't really lead to new ways of approaching things. So if you're trying to be innovative, if you're trying to move the needle in your performance, to me, it's just really a no-brainer. And not just to me, it's just been proven too many times that I get frustrated that it's even still a question.
Yeah, exactly. And even it's been actually showing from for a super long time. If you go back to even a story of it, and for some reason people feel like they just need to, let's put this aside because we don't want to deal with it, and let's focus on that. But now one thing, you like you said, we are seeing is the fact that companies that's making that happening is making the revenue is better, the leaders, because the leaders can lead better. So why do you want to burn out your own company?
Why do I want to have my own company?
No, I mean, like, why do they want to burn out their own company when they can help it go better?
I don't I don't really know what would be the rationale to not do it. Well, said differently, I one of the things I think about is that when you bring in diverse thoughts, you're gonna have some conflict. You're gonna have some disagreements. There's two different
Yes.
sides, right? Or multiple different sides. And so a lot of people aren't comfortable with conflict. They
Thanks.
aren't comfortable with someone disagreeing with them. Because I'm the leader. And you're supposed to just yes me until, kingdom comes. So I think it's also important for leaders to start to get comfortable with folks having a different point of view and you trying things, right? And you saying, okay, let's try it for 60 days. If it doesn't work, we'll iterate. That type of muscle has to start to be built, and you kind of got to let go of your ego a little bit in order to do that comfortably. And so those two things in kind, ego and comfort in conflict, to me is what I perceive to be some of the challenges that make people not really want to have diverse thought at the table.
But also, one thing you have to realize too, the way that a lot of big leaders have been looking at it, the one under them just do the get all the things for them. When it's come to the time for the meeting, they usually just push them aside so they go get the credit themselves. So now, if you're talking about diversity and all these things, now you're bringing all the people to the table. So who's getting the credit? They're not getting credit anymore. So why would they want that?
Yeah, yeah, no, you're right. I mean, but see, even to that, that's ego, right? Like that's
Yes,
still
yes,
who gets the credit, right? To me, the best leader always gives their team the credit, right?
yes,
Let
yes.
you're letting them shine, and by them shining, you shine,
Shine,
right?
shine.
So that to me is still very grounded in ego and not in serving the business or in serving your team. So yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely.
in my mind, I'm like, your job as a leader is to create other leaders,
Yes,
period. And
yes.
so what are you doing to do that? That's heralding people up, showing, them when you get a win that you're like, oh, that's all my team, yay!
Hey,
Versus,
hey.
oh, thank you, I know I did. Like that to me is like, wow, what a disservice you've just done to your team and their effort.
Absolutely. So now, do you think that your company, Lead by Design Lab, can actually help fix that? I'm not saying that's going to happen overnight. Of course, this is a lot of work. But do you think that your company can help other companies fix that issue within their own make sure that their leaders can act better and appreciate their teams, give them credit?
It's my goal. It's my goal when I go out and do this work. It's my goal to provide training and to make it really sit in with the leader so that they want to. And that's why we don't do off the shelf trainings. I spend time understanding the culture. I interview people so that I'm able to really craft a training that I think will truly resonate within that culture. So yeah, I mean, that's my goal. If I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't think I could move the needle in some way. That's just not, I got two babies. I'd rather just spend time with them, right? But if I'm feeling like I'm making an impact and helping to create space so that people that look like me can comfortably go into these different organizations and thrive, yeah, like that's what I want. That's absolutely what I want.
And I think that actually I'm not going to lie to you. I have to spell it out for you. This is going to be a very difficult ride. So be ready to ride it.
Yes, yes, ma'am. It is difficult, but let me also say this. I am also my own boss, though, and I get to pick who my clients are,
So,
right? So as they're interviewing me, I'm interviewing them to see what is your real appetite for this work. How serious are you in doing this, right? And if I'm on the fence, then I'm happy to refer you to someone else. I don't think I'm a good fit for this opportunity. I can't, in good conscience, take on something when I don't think it's going to lead to what you're talking about. If that's in fact the work, right? Like if I'm coaching you, that's why I said like the coaching thing is it's a relationship. I got to know that you really are going to take up what we're going to do together. If I don't think you are, I'm happy to refer you to someone else. It's no sweat off my back. So yeah, I know what you're saying, that it's so hard, a long journey, but I'm trying in my own way to mitigate that by being selective on who I work with.
yes, because it's been. I remember a few years ago, someone said, "You sure you want to help women?" I said, "Yeah," and the person said to me, "Well, I wish you good luck because this is going to be a very difficult ride." And I'm like, "Why? You'll find out by yourself very soon."
And so what did that become? Like what was the
I think
punchline for it?
I think that what I got to learn 5 years later, I got to learn what they were trying to say is that trying to get women to come together and work together, it's a mission impossible. And it's like you're pulling yourself to a suicide mission here. And I did find out it is hard. But one thing I did learn also is that there's other women just like yourself that's out there who's trying to fix that gap, who's trying to make a difference. And they do want to come together and to create it to make the world a better place. Because at the end of the day, we birthed.
Oh gosh, yeah, say
So
it.
the fact that we are birthed, we are creating, right? So as a creator, what do? We protect, we teach, and we share. And even when I remember watching, my son loved to watch documentary about animals, and I was watching lions and cheetahs, and even elephants, how they raise the kids. So they raise them a way for them to learn how to survive in the world. That's the same thing we are doing.
You're right. You're right.
The exact
And so
same
some
thing.
of that might be protective, to your point, a protective reaction that is not intended to be, as we receive it, that we're really trying to protect ourselves or protect whatever we think we need to. Yeah, that's a good
Yes, but
point.
I guess at the end of the day, what I was trying to also tell you is the fact that yes, it's a long journey, but at the end of the day, it's all worth taking because what we're trying to do, at the end of the people, we're gonna get people to be able to be a part of it, and if we even get one person to go out there and do the exact same thing, we are making a difference in this world. And yes, you are in a mission impossible, girl, but you can do it. So, if you had to choose between coaching and consulting, which one would you prefer?
Oh, that's tough. That's tough. But it is tough. But yeah, coaching. I would absolutely choose coaching. My one-on-one relationships are just so powerful. I feel like I'm able to see the direct impact that I'm making on someone. I go back and I might speak to someone on their team and they're like, oh, I can tell the difference already of them working with you. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Right. So being able to support that leader, it has such tentacles out into the organization. And I'm able to go pretty deep with them. So I would definitely choose coaching over consulting, although they are definitely both my loves.
So you see, you are creating leaders.
Exactly. So, and I'm hoping to create leaders that are being intentional, right? And are being, walking in it with that clear knowledge of what they're doing.
Absolutely. So now, after all of these battles, we all know as mother, we go to the obstacles up and down, and things don't usually work the same way. But at the end, you made it. So your business is growing. So what vision do you have for Lead by Design Lab?
So, don't get me started on my vision boards, but one of the things that I am really excited about is focusing specifically on women of color executives in higher education. So as I've been working with some of these, again, deans and chairs of these prestigious departments in universities here in the US, I'm really taken aback by how they're able to accomplish these things without really any leadership training. And so I'm excited to support them uniquely and to build resources and experiences for them to go through to help ensure that they will be successful, not only in their current role, but even as they move up their organization and to other organizations, other universities, where they're going to be able to sprinkle, their amazement across the universities in our country. So that's what's next for us. We're really going to kind of go deep with women of color executives in higher education.
Ooh, that's next level.
Yeah. No, it's been blowing my mind every time I meet with a different leader. And I mean, I'm getting to meet with some really senior women in higher ed, and to hear their challenges, I'm like, oh, I cannot wait to birth this thing, because I will be able to help the next generation of, presidents of colleges. Like, what? Oh my gosh, like that just, it gets me so giddy. So that is where we are headed as a unique, specialized area of our company.
You know what, LaToya? I have no doubt, because I know you're gonna rock it. That's all I have to say. I have no doubt. So what?
To the hills, for sure.
What message would you like to share with new female leaders that you're starting out?
I think what I would say is to first really, really get clear of who you are and who you want to be as a leader, right? And to be confident about that. Don't allow anyone to shake you and to make you something that you aren't, that you were selected because of who you are, all of who you are. And so don't hide any aspects of yourself under a barrel because you're trying to conform to a perceived model. I think that is something so important for women leaders to understand, that they picked you on purpose. So walk in that. And then, have fun, be yourself, whatever that might look like. And not to forget what you set out to do, whatever was your purpose for being in that senior role. Don't forget that as stuff gets hard and politics starts to play, whatever, kind of like have that as your North Star of your why you're there doing your work.
I love it. And don't forget to be you.
You please wear your skirts, wear your whatever, do you, because you are who they wanted. And so don't lose that.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time to have this conversation with me, and keep doing what you are doing, because we do need more women out there, and I will say it, we do need more Black women out there as well. So it's we need to get out of the shadow, and it's our time to go ahead and shine and show what we can do, because I know we can do a lot.
Of course, exactly. So yes, and thank you for inviting me and having me share on your platform all that we're up to.